Hey everybody, welcome back to the Wolf Pit with another episode of What Are We Eating? Making barbecue at home is really a super simple thing to do if you have time. You can literally make it on any type of grill or even in the oven if you don't have a grill or you can't use a grill where you live. Some people say making barbecue in the oven is sacrilegious to barbecue, and I don't necessarily disagree. But you gotta use what you got. And if you like the finished product, it doesn't matter how you cook it. But like I said, the biggest factor in making barbecue at home is the time factor. Especially if you cook it on a grill, a smoker, or even a pellet grill. Especially pulled pork and brisket. If you're trying to make really good barbecue, you gotta cook it low and slow. Sure, if you use higher temperatures and you use foil or butcher paper, you can make barbecue a whole lot faster. But if you choose not to use foil or butcher paper, depending on what you're cooking and the temperatures you're cooking it at, barbecue can take hours. Anywhere from 3 to 4 hours for chicken, 4 to 6 hours for ribs, or 8, 10, 12, 14, or 16 hours for pulled pork. And to some people, that's a hell of a long time to cook meat. People lead busy lives nowadays, whether it's for themselves, or for recreational purposes, or for their kids. And as Sweet Brown always says, ain't nobody got time for that. But if you do have time, I'll leave a link in the description of this video to all the barbecue recipes that you're seeing right now. But if you don't have time for that, you can go to your local Walmart and pick up the 28-ounce Kingsford combo platter, which consists of pulled pork, St. Louis style center cut pork ribs, and pulled chicken with sweet and smoky Kansas City style barbecue sauce for $13.82. So let's give it a try and see how it compares to real barbecue. But first of all, before we dig into the barbecue, I want to point out the use or freeze by date, which is August 23rd of 2025, which sounds perfectly fine, right? Well, not really. Today is August 2nd, so that means this stuff will last for 3 weeks just in the refrigerator. In my opinion, that's entirely too long for cooked, prepared food to sit in the refrigerator. After I have food sitting in the refrigerator for 3 or 4 days, I toss it out. What do you, the people, think? Well, let me tell you a little secret. I bought this Kingsford combo pack of barbecue around the 4th of July. And to be honest, I totally forgot it was in my fridge. And when I saw it, I had all intentions of throwing it away. That was until I saw the use or freeze by date. And I was in total shock. But I decided to try it anyway for you, the people, so you don't have to. Even if it caused a severe case of Montezuma's revenge. So here's our barbecue right out of the refrigerator. To the left, we have the barbecue pulled chicken, and in the center, the St. Louis style center cut pork ribs, and to the right, we have the pulled pork. So let's get our barbecue out of the vacuum seal packages and onto the aluminum tray that comes with the barbecue. Like I said in the previous video, Mama said, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. And this doesn't look like almost $14 worth of barbecue to me. Now it goes into a preheated 350 degree oven for 10 to 15 minutes. 12 minutes later, our barbecue was thoroughly heated through and ready to eat. And right off the bat, the only thing I could really smell was the barbecue sauce. So let's go over and try the pulled pork first. Here's the list of ingredients, and the ingredient list doesn't look too bad. It doesn't really have a whole lot of garbage in it. So I guess the salt and the sodium phosphate are the preservatives that make this barbecue last in the refrigerator for an eternity. There's 2 5-ounce servings of the pulled pork. Each serving has 290 calories, 12 grams of total fat, 4 grams of saturated fat, no trans fat, 70 milligrams of cholesterol, 850 milligrams of sodium, 24 grams of carbohydrates, 1 gram of fiber, 20 grams of sugars, and 21 grams of protein. So we shanked a forkful of the pulled pork like a prison snitch, and if you like really sauced pulled pork, I guess this looks pretty good. So into the old pie hole, and down the gullet it went. And I guess I'm going to say I was really shocked, because I think the flavor and the moisture of the pulled pork was pretty tasty. I'm sure with the sauce drowning in that sweet, molasses flavored sauce helped the moisture level a lot. And I'm not really a big fan of a lot of barbecue sauce on my pulled pork, but this sauce was delicious. Yes, it was overly sweet. Yes, it had that artificial fake smoke flavor to it. Well, I can't say it's a fake flavor because it is liquid smoke, which isn't a fake flavor at all. It's usually just an overly concentrated, bitter, smoky flavor. But like I said, the meat was moist and tender. It wasn't overly lean. It seemed like it did have a little bit of fat to it. And the flavor from the sauce was pretty darn good, to be honest. I could definitely see people buying this pulled pork with the barbecue sauce on it and enjoying it. It reminds me of pulled pork that people invite you over to their house to enjoy that they made in the crock pot, which is usually pretty edible and sometimes even delicious. But it's definitely not going to win any awards, but it will satisfy people and fill their bellies, and quite possibly giving them diabetes, which is why I'm giving Kingsford pulled pork a 6 out of 10. Next up, let's go over and try the pulled chicken. Here's the list of ingredients, and again, it's not a horrible looking list of ingredients. There's 2 5-ounce servings of the pulled barbecue chicken. Each serving has 210 calories, 5 grams of total fat, 2 grams of saturated fat, no trans fat, 80 milligrams of cholesterol, 830 milligrams of sodium, 23 grams of carbohydrates, no fiber, 19 grams of sugars, and 18 grams of protein. So let's shank up a forkful of this barbecue chicken. All right, visually, this looks like it's already been chewed up, but we got what we could on the fork, and it didn't look any better on the fork than it did in the tray. So I said a quick prayer and shoved it into my pie hole, and down the gullet it went. And that dry ass forkful of meat shot out of my mouth faster than you could say spit. Now, I've never claimed to be a very smart person, but I'm definitely not a very stupid person either. And I was smart enough not to let another forkful of that meat enter my pie hole. But the camera girl decided to try it for herself. And I saw the look on her face, and I didn't say a word. My facial expressions said it loud and clear that I told you so. The Kingsford barbecue pulled chicken was super dry, it was super flavorless, and it was super disgusting. Which is why I'm giving Kingsford pulled barbecue chicken a 1 out of 10. I would give it a 0 out of 10, but the last time I gave something a 0 out of 10, you, the people, said you can't give something a 0 out of 10. So I'm giving it the 1 out of 10 to make you, the people, happy. Next up, we have the St. Louis trimmed center cut pork spare ribs. And I hope I don't make myself look stupid here, but there is not a way these spare ribs can be anywhere near as bad as the barbecue pulled chicken. But we're going to wait and see. So here's the list of ingredients. Now there's 2 5-ounce servings of edible portion of ribs. Each serving has 300 calories, 14 grams of total fat, 5 grams of saturated fat, no trans fat, 40 milligrams of cholesterol, 780 milligrams of sodium, 29 grams of carbohydrates, 1 gram of fiber, 24 grams of sugars, and 14 grams of protein. Alright, I'm asking you, the people, for your help. The math just isn't adding up here. And like I said before, I've never said I was a very smart person, but I'm definitely not a very stupid person either. Although I'm sure that there's a handful of people that would disagree. But if there's 2 5-ounce servings of each meat, 2 times 5 is 10, 10 times 3 is 30. Well, why does the box say 28 ounces then? In either case, it doesn't make any sense. Are I dumb or are I smart? Inquiring minds want to know. Once again, the marketing team, the editing team, and the quality assurance teams of processed food products in general are showing that they're as dumb and crappy as their products are. Even Scooter could figure out the math on this one. So let's grab a set of the ribs, pull them apart, and give it a try. Now the rib looks very moist, and it was definitely very tender. As you can see, we pulled it apart with our fingers. So into the old pie hole, and down the gullet it went. And the first thing I noticed was the overly sweet, smoky sauce, which I liked with the pulled pork, and again I like it with the pork ribs. And the ribs were meaty, moist, and tender, but that's where all the good ended. Not surprisingly, the meat itself had a very off taste to it. It tasted old. and I'm not 100% sure on how to describe how something tastes old, but I've noticed it before in frozen meals that contain bone-in chicken or ribs or fried chicken, and they all have that same old bone flavor. The only way I can even think about describing old as in a flavor is like eating a piece of wood. Not that I've ever had a piece of wood. Well, maybe I was a beaver in a past life and I've been reincarnated and I really do know what wood tastes like. But I imagine this is what a piece of wood would taste like, and it's not a very pleasant taste. So I'm giving the Kingsford St. Louis trimmed center cut spare ribs a 2 out of 10. And that's only because they were meaty and moist. Thank you all very much for watching. Please don't forget to like this video and subscribe, and I'll see you soon.